I'm Wyatt Cash with Scoop News Group, and we're here at FedScoop's ITModTalks with Lexy Guenther, Vice President and CTO for Civil Enterprise IT and Mission Solutions at Leidos. Lexy, thank you so much for joining us.
Happy to be here.
So a little more than a year now into the Biden administration, where have you seen some of the greatest progress in IT modernization in the federal government?
Yeah, and so I believe that most of the areas where we've seen the biggest progress have actually been in areas of what I would call forced modernization. And so since COVID, we really saw this frantic need at first, right? And then we kind of settled into a more stable and ongoing and recurring need for a remote digital connected workforce. And that need to modernize our everything from our architecture and infrastructure to the platforms and the applications we're using to enable that workforce to work securely, confidently, and efficiently has really kind of pushed us beyond the bounds of what we were typically comfortable with as service providers and as an industry. And so I think that's been a tremendous benefit, if you will, even to this move to a more remote workforce. And as we settle in now, even in 2022, and look kind of where we were even a year ago, as Biden took office, we're seeing more and more of these not just accommodations, but push to really accept the remote digital workforce as, you know, this idea of how do we support them and how do we provide them with the services, applications, infrastructure that they need to work confidently, reliably, and securely in their roles. And so I would also say that we've seen a shift in services to what I would call a user-based approach, right? So one of the EOs really focused on customer experience. And I think that's another area where the administration has really started pushing the envelope on turning how we do service delivery traditionally on its head to be more focused on the user, and it's certainly for the better.
How has IT modernization helped federal agencies get a better handle on securing their most valuable systems?
Yeah, security is certainly a passion point of me. I've spent the last 8 or so years in cyber operations, and so making sure that where we're moving to and modernizing to is a place of increased security and heightened security is extremely important to me, as well as I know to the rest of the industry. And I think that IT modernization helps first and foremost simply by looking at what is your aging infrastructure that we need to move off of. So we all know there's mainframes in closets and that there is aging infrastructure that's sitting out there. It also tends to be our most vulnerable when we're looking at it from a security perspective. And so modernization by default helps raise the bar and bring us into a more compliant, more secure baseline. When we look at applications, even looking at going through this idea of analyzing applications for refactoring, rehosting, even retiring, you're all moving into a more secure platform, more secure area and end state than you were previously when you started this effort pre-modernization. And so I think modernization does a whole heck of a lot of good when it comes to the security bar across our industry and for our customers.
Great point. You mentioned a minute ago about the White House executive order on the customer experience. Can you talk a little about what you've seen in the way of federal agencies taking steps to actually deliver better digital services to the American public?
Absolutely. And as with any executive order or policy decisions, compliance is kind of the first initial gut reaction. And what I like about the structure of these EOs that we're seeing is there is a policy element, but it's really driving an action. And so these action-focused EOs have allowed us to kind of get to the heart of the matter. And frankly, at the heart of the matter is better services. It's more enabled services, more secure services, and a better user experience. And all of those elements really provide that better digital experience to our American citizen base, to our customer base, I know within our Leidos customer base, we've been heavily working with our customers on creating what I would call defensible technology roadmaps. And not defensible necessarily from a security standpoint, although that's part of it, but defensible in terms of justifiable. And looking at how do we modernize our technology stack and our applications and everything in between, and our network and our infrastructure and our architecture, in order to create this next generation set of services and capabilities for the end user. And so this focus on modernization with the end user in mind, I think that's a pivotal part that is really helping us get to the end state that really benefits everyone.
Great points as well. And then lastly, what across the federal IT landscape stands out to you as having the biggest potential or need for modernization in the coming years in the federal government?
Yeah, there is so much. I feel like we're at a precipice right now in terms of, the digital edge. I guess it's a poor turn of phrase in this context, but just that kind of cusp of all these different capabilities and different technologies that we have at our fingertips that are really enabling us to potentially take that leap to the next level. I would say a couple, just to highlight a few, certainly not all of them, but looking for the integration of 5G technologies and even the Wi-Fi 6 technologies to really see how can we create a ubiquitous and lasting identity and persona based secure connection, where a user is connected to an application or a system, regardless of where they are, regardless of what device they're connecting from, and being able to kind of have this lasting and remote connection in order to have reliable service and also continuous connection I think is really something we're right on the cusp of being able to kind of get all the piece parts together to do that effectively at scale, which is always the challenge, right? The demo to scale challenge. The other area that we're really seeing as a high focus area that I think is just going to really take off in terms of use cases and potential is this area of AI ops. And so artificial intelligent operations and how to apply it in so many different contexts. So AI ops in and of itself, right, is really a feature set of being able to exploit data in a way that gives you meaningful information and allows you to take action, right, even do predictive analytics, and kind of lean forward into how can I look at a user population or a device population and understand based on risk factors and telemetry that I'm getting from all these connected devices, how that will potentially predict a degradation of service or a possible degradation in the device itself. And so this idea of using the information we're getting, because we are so connected right now, in order to apply AI algorithms and then have learning and actions coming out of them, I think is going to be the next big step.
Well, Lexy Guenther, thank you so much for joining us and sharing some of your insights on IT modernization in the federal government.
Absolutely. So happy to join you.
And look for more of our coverage on IT modernization on FedScoop.com. This is Wyatt Cash. Thanks for tuning in.